Hello my loves, and thank you for joining me. It's Kirsten and we're of course at the start of yet another weekly vlog, and if you can hear any background noise today, I don't know what's going on, but it seems everybody is having some sort of works going on in the neighbourhood because it's really loud today. Anyway, so starting off this week, I am currently reading The Monk by Matthew Lewis. I started this at the end of last week's vlog and honestly it is interesting. I've read another 80 pages since then. We have two main perspectives, it seems like. So in the first chapter we meet a few different characters. So you have Lorenzo, whose sister Agnes is in a convent. He meets Antonia, who is this really sweet, shy, unassuming girl. Then he kind of has deans to marry her, but she ends up falling in love with this person giving a sermon because they meet in a church. And the person giving the sermon is someone that is highly renowned for being a saint. He has spent 30 years of his life depriving himself of everything, and he's only just started to step foot outside of his church, and that's once a week on a Thursday to give these sermons where people come from all over. And that's what we have in the first chapter. We just meet all of these characters. Also at the end of the first chapter we meet Agnes, and Agnes has gone to the church to confess, as she does on a weekly basis on a Thursday, but she ends up literally letting slip a letter that discovers that she is pregnant, and obviously because she is in the convent this is not allowed and she gets dragged away to be punished. While she's being dragged away she curses Ambrosio, who is the one that told the head nun about her being pregnant, and vows that he will suffer torment. Then you go to the second chapter, and the second chapter is following Ambrosio. You're learning more about him and the fact that he has this companion that he's always confided in the most, until turn of events turns out that he is a she and she has been in love with him for a very long time. You then see his questioning everything because of the temptation, about his sway in morals and everything. So that's all taking place in the second chapter. Then the last two chapters that I've just read have been very interesting, but it's kind of a story within a story, because Lorenzo hears that his sister is pregnant. He finds out who has done this and he goes to defend her honour, but he turns around and says to him, wait until you've heard my story. And so he starts telling this story, which is the next 80 pages. And this story is one that is of lots of different loves in what I can see. So we're following him as he decides to go travel in Europe. While he is on his way to Germany, he gets waylaid by these robbers and he is helped to escape by one of the robbers' wife. She then tells her story about how she ran away from home to be with the person that she absolutely adored, how her love caused her to overlook things that she knows that she shouldn't have, until one day that she finds out everything he has been doing, but he is dying, and as a result the robbers are like, well, you can't go anywhere, and so she gets married off to one of the others who is not very nice, and so you're seeing love in a very toxic environment. Then because he also helped a baroness escape during these events, he then goes to stay with the baron and the baroness, and he meets Agnes, who is their niece, and he starts falling in love with her, and you see their love of innocence and how, you know, it's so sweet and everything, but Agnes has been promised to a convent since she was a baby, which he's very much like, no, I'm going to appeal to them, try and make it so that they don't send you there. But during this he then tries to befriend the aunt so that she will believe him and be swayed towards him and not force her to go to this convent. Instead the aunt falls passionately in love with him, and then when it realises that this love is not returned, that love turns into hatred and she starts causing more problems for these two young lovers. And then there's a ghost story, and honestly it's chaos. It is chaos, and the ghost story is to do with love as well. I feel like that's what this book is. It is a love story. It's lots of little love stories, but showing how love can turn into sin so easily, or at least that's what I'm getting from this. And it is interesting to see that, to see how the author's done it so that love corrupts us, which I just think is an interesting take on things. So yeah, it's been rather interesting. It's been a bit chaotic, so I am not even sure where it's going to go next. As said, that last 80 pages did feel like a story within a story within a story, like there was lots of little stories within this overturning story that was basically just telling the tale of how Agnes came to be pregnant. So yeah, I'm intrigued to see where it's going to go. Considering that this is called The Monk, I thought we'd be following more of the monk's perspective in this, which we're not. We're following a lot of different side characters. I'm sure we will get back to him eventually, but so far I'm on page 160 and we've had 40 pages, because all of these chapters are around 40 pages long, and yeah, we've had one chapter about him specifically from his perspective. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I'm enjoying it. This I started early, which means I didn't actually finish my October TBR, which, to be fair, even if I didn't start this on Halloween, I still wasn't finishing that TBR, so that does mean we have to take an extra pick. So let me go get it. So as always, my extra picks are in this little bag. These are books that have been sat on my TBR for ages, or I just haven't been feeling like reading. The idea is once I've chosen that, that is the next book that I read. So after I finished The Monk, we'll be starting whatever this is, which honestly, I mean, sometimes they're really good. We'll see. Okay, let's go with this one. Crime and Punishment. I know I wanted a classics month, but let me just get it. Okay, Crime and Punishment by Fyodor Dostoevsky. Sorry, I've probably butchered that name. Well, I didn't expect this one on my TBR. I actually forgot that this was in here, honestly. Yeah, Crime and Punishment. It is meant to be one of Russian literature's most famous and influential works, and honestly, I read Anna Karenina and that's a lot bigger than this, so I'm pretty sure I can manage this. Yeah, I've got no idea what this is about. It says, Rodion is a handsome yet impoverished student. Morally conflicted, he believes that extraordinary men who contribute much to society by their thinking are above the law, and in order to prove his theory, he decides to murder a grasping old moneylender, and through unforeseen circumstances, her sister. Unexpectedly filled with remorse, Raskolnikov is caught in a moral dilemma. While he believes he can get away with a perfect murder, he also finds his conscience challenged by his developing relationship with the beautiful but deeply religious Sonia. Okay, that's not what I expected at all. That sounds actually really interesting. Okay. So that's what we're going to be reading. I mean, to be fair, at least it's fitted with my classics reading month. So yeah, after I finish The Monk, we will be starting Crime and Punishment, which actually I thought it was a lot more pages than this, but it's only 442, so that's not too bad. I mean, okay, cool. Well, that's going to be an interesting one. Right, well, now that that's out the way, I should probably get to work. I am working all the way up until Friday this week, so I have Saturday, Sunday off, which is nice because I haven't had that in a while. But yeah, okay, let's go to work. Excuse the terrible lighting, the even worse hair, but I've just finished The Monk and I needed to talk about this book because what? Just what? Honestly, it is crazy. It is absurd, chaotic, dramatic, and disturbing all at the same time, and it's going to make it an absolute nightmare for me to actually be able to rate this book. So actually, look, quick tangent, let's talk about rating books, because me and my mum were having this conversation earlier in the week, which was she finished reading Horror Store by Grady Hendrix and liked it but thought there were things that could have been better. And I said, okay, what star rating would you give it? And she said 2 or 3 stars. And I was quite surprised. Not about the 3-star, because you know what, personally I think 3 stars, I've said it many times, fit into a couple of categories. Sometimes you'd reread them, you thought they were good. Sometimes they're good, but they're not necessarily something that's going to stay with you. But 2-star is a book I didn't enjoy. And so I was really surprised when she said that to me, and it got us onto the topic about how star ratings are so subjective. That is exactly how I feel about this book. It is a mess. And I don't know how to rate it. Now, I normally use a core pile, which G over at Book Roast created, so I'll have her linked below. And it is a really good system because she gets you to rank out of 10 what you thought about the characters, the plot, the writing, and a few other different categories, and that gives you an overall rating. And it started out that I was being really objective with it, but now I know what numbers are going to give what star rating, and I tend to be like, oh, but that book, I don't know, I enjoyed it so much, maybe it should be higher than that. Like Sailor Moon is always like a 4 or 5 star read, but reality-wise, it should probably just be a 3-star. Because of my nostalgia for it, I won't give it anything less. This is why I'm so confused about this book, because I can say this book is ostentatious. I feel like a lot of the writing in here was just in there to show off and also to shock us. It is very dramatic throughout all of it, but it's also really wandering. Like, there are so many different plot lines throughout this book, and some of it I'm like, we didn't really need this bit, and it's like, oh, can we please move on? But at the same time, it just felt like a car crash that was going to happen, but you couldn't not watch it because it was just so intense. Where I left it off updating you, we then followed the monk's perspective. You saw his depravity come to light even more. Like, he attempted raping Antonia several times, ended up murdering someone to try and accomplish it, and there are so many other things, and throughout all of this, religion is the villain. Like, I can see why it was blasphemous, because it just slates religion continuously throughout this whole book. And there's like witchcraft, there's torture, there is so much going on in this book, and I really do feel like it would have been so shocking to read back then, and I found it shocking now. So yeah, but there is one part in this book that, because of the fact that I'm stuck on star ratings and what made me even think about the conversation with my mum, is there is a point in here that says, an author, whether good or bad or between both, is an animal whom everybody is privileged to attack, for though all are not able to write books, all conceive themselves able to judge them. And I'm like, you know what, that's so true. We all judge books. And you know what? I can't write for anything, and yet I will still judge a book and rate it, and it's one of those things that line just made me think about that conversation with my mum. And then continuously reading this book, I was just constantly thinking, like, I am judging this book for how chaotic and all over the place it is. So yeah, my end result is, I don't know what the star rating is going to come out. I will put it through Corpal. It's a hard one for me because I don't feel like it should be 5 stars, because it's got its faults to it. At the same time, I would reread this book, and I do think it deserves higher than 3, but the way it's written and that, like, I'm baffled. I'm so confused, and this is a book that's going to consistently stay with me and challenge me and everything that I thought I knew about Gothic literature, because this book just challenges everything. So in a way, it's like it should get 5 stars just for that, because I know it's going to stay with me, and it's going to be one that I do recommend if you want something that is genuinely a very overdramatic train wreck that you cannot look away from, and is also very disturbing in places, very graphic in places, and trigger warnings galore. Like, so many trigger warnings in this. So yeah, that's my review of this book. I don't know what just happened, but I can genuinely say, like, it was very gripping. I really enjoyed the characters, the development of it, or should I say, like, the descent into chaos that they had, and how each of these characters go through many different mood swings, and it does talk about like depression and everything, and it is all over dramatized, but it works as well, especially because there was a lot of people that argued that Matthew Lewis wrote this as a play, which does make sense with a lot of the over dramatization that was taking place in this book. There is a lot of poetry in here, which a lot of people just kind of criticize as being ostentatious, like just trying to show off. And you know what, I can agree with some of it. Some of the poems I really liked. Some of the poems I just felt like, what was the point and purpose of this poem? And I'm sure that there are critics out there that can actually be like, well, actually this poem was foreshadowing this, but I'm not done that much thought into it, I'm not gonna lie. Like, poetry is not my thing. And yeah, it's a book of contradictions, and that's why I came on here. Like, I wouldn't normally come on here in the evening with this terrible lighting, but I really wanted to talk about that book because I'm just like, it's gonna be on my mind for absolutely ages. And in a way, I'm like, it might even make it book of the month, because you can guarantee I will be thinking about this book all month and trying to make sense of it. So yeah. Okay, I'm gonna go because I need to put my washing on and stuff, and I will properly update you tomorrow morning because I'm thinking of starting Crime and Punishment tonight, but we'll see. But yeah, I just needed to vent because I just don't know. we are back with better lighting and better hair. Yeah, I put The Monk through Core Pile and it came out as 4 stars, and I tried being really objective because, as I said, I've got into this really bad habit of knowing what the numbers are going to give out. So this time I really sat there and tried properly answering that and thinking, okay, what did I actually think of these characters, the plot, etc. And I think I need to start doing that more because, yeah, I'm definitely skewing those star ratings based on how I feel it should be rather than being a bit more objective. But yeah, 4 stars. As I said, this was a crazy book. Even towards the end, I mean, the things that happened at the end of this book were just unexpected, and yeah, could not have called any of it. Then I started Crime and Punishment last night and I'm on chapter 5, and these chapters are really short, which is quite a nice change compared to The Monk where a chapter was like 40 pages long. A chapter in this is probably about 10 pages long, if that. Again, this is a really weird one. I just feel like the first couple books of November are just being really unusual books. Our main character's perspective is really unusual. Honestly, it made me question him a lot and the way he sees things. He is someone that is a very poor student, or was a student. He's no longer in university, and you're starting to realise that he has spent time outside of university because he's trying to make his mind up about something. He's been doing a lot of thinking. He goes to a pub for the first time for him, and he meets this really unusual gentleman who starts telling him his life story, and he ends up going back to this gentleman's house where his wife rails on him because of the fact that he drinks away all their money, the fact that his daughter ended up going towards prostitution just to be able to bring in some money, and the fact that he doesn't stop it, he doesn't do anything to help the family. So we learn all about that. And then the main character comes home and he receives a letter from his mother, which then details how his mother and sister have been doing, the fact that his sister is engaged to be married. The brother then really doesn't like this. He's really unhappy with it. It doesn't seem like a good marriage. Like, he really starts analysing everything about the letter. Then he's a really unusual character. Like, he'll seem to be thinking one way and then he'll just change and go the complete other way, and I'm so confused. It is interesting. It's actually really easy to read. I think I was a little bit apprehensive after reading Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy. I really liked parts of that book, but then parts of it were really hard to get through. So far, the writing style of Fyodor Dostoevsky is really good, really engaging, and as much as our main character, he can't seem to make up his mind and his thought processes are a bit all over the place, the actual writing of it is really easy to follow. So yeah, I am reading yet another unusual book that is questioning morality. Don't know what that says about my November, that this is where we're going this month, but there we go. In other news, we have my little plant here. It's not been doing so well. I think it was the change in weather was a bit sudden for it, so I think it's just had a bit of a shock to the system. So I've moved it away, having it a bit closer because my focus seems to do really well here. So I'm hoping that my little money plant can kind of recuperate itself. So we'll see. If you have any tips on looking after a money plant, let me know. At the minute, I'm just hoping that where it gets indirect sunlight and hopefully a bit further away from the window so it won't get that cold breeze coming through. As much as I keep my window closed during this time because it has gone cold, there is still that loose breeze that comes through. Anyway, that was a tangent about plants probably didn't need. This is a quicker update mainly because I did rant quite a bit about The Monk and all my ideas where it just the fact that I didn't know what I thought about this book, and I feel like it's going to be a similar one to Crime and Punishment, or at least that's how it's starting, but we'll see how it continues. But for now, I have my last day of work to get to for this week. Tomorrow I'm really excited because me and my partner are going up central London as always, but this time we're going to an electric game box experience, which is meant to be this really cool gaming type thing. It's for an hour long, and yeah, it will be an interesting one. I'll see if I can bring you along with me. I'm not sure if you can do like any filming or stuff there, but we'll see. So that's the plan for tomorrow. Right, yeah, I need to go to work, so let's go. strange reading week continues. So, on Friday I had a terrible headache, like it was so extreme, it was unbearable. As a result, I just could not focus on Crime and Punishment and it all over writing style, which I will get into in a moment. So instead I decided to pick up the shortest book on my TBR this month, which happened to be The Missing Girl by Shirley Jackson. And this is a very short book, it's only 55 pages long and I was expecting it to be one story. It's not. It is 3 short stories and oh my god is this weird. Like, so weird. 1, impressive at the fact that you can fit 3 short stories in here. And 2, each of the stories was just so odd. So you have the first story, which is The Missing Girl, and this is all about a girl that has gone missing, and it's to the point where people even question whether she was actually alive and real, and it's very surreal. Nobody has proper names, like they're referred to as Little John and Eeyore. They're like children's characters in this camp, and it's just, no one actually seems to care that she's gone missing at all. It's very surreal. Then the second book is Journey with a Lady, and that's probably the quaint book out of all of this, the one that made the most sense, and that's literally this 9-year-old boy that's going on a train journey for the first time on his own, and he meets a lady on the train, and it's all very interesting, and it's a bit of a, for a 9-year-old, a massive adventure story. And that made me question, after thinking about it for a little while, wondering whether this was actually true or whether it was his overactive imagination that's made up this story to keep himself entertained on this train journey. So that was the one I probably liked the most because it was, honestly, there was nothing creepy about it, there was nothing surreal or unusual, it was just a nice story. Even though it was very short, you got quite a good feel for the characters. But then you had the third story and it's called Nightmares, and it's a very apt name for it, I will give it that. It felt very claustrophobic as I was reading this. I could not understand anything that was actually happening, it just didn't make any sense to me at all, and it did very much have this claustrophobic feel to it, which added to the idea of it being a nightmare. But it also left you, again, questioning, is this real? What is going on here? I really couldn't tell you what was going on. It's all about this woman that works for this company that then has to go deliver this package and then starts getting followed around by this truck that is shouting out, you know, you need to find Miss X and you're going to get loads of prizes, and it's really weird. It's really, really weird. And it ended up where, again, I was really stuck for star rating. So I decided to be very objective and I put it through Corpal and it came out as 2 stars. But then at the same time, I feel like maybe that's a bit too harsh because it is good at what it does, because each story is good and does exactly what the title suggests. But I also would say it's not something I'd probably reread. And yet, I don't know. This is what I mean, like star ratings at the minute for this week apparently have just gone out the window because I just can't tell you where these books are fitting in properly, like where I feel they should fit in. And normally I'm pretty good with knowing like, okay, this feels like a 3-star or this feels like a 4-star. Yeah, this week that's not happening. So Corpal says 2 stars, so we're going to go with that. I feel like the writing and everything is pretty good and I feel like that should push it up. But even when I gave the writing a higher score compared to everything else, it still wasn't enough to give it more than 2 stars. It kind of worked out as like a 2.75. So yeah, this was weird. Is it good enough to make me want to read more of Shirley Jackson's work? Yes, because I'm really intrigued to see when she dedicates something to a longer story, what on earth is going to happen in that thing? It makes me really interested to see her writing style and wondering now whether her books are really surreal or not. So, I mean, it did its job. I am intrigued. So that was Friday. Saturday, me and my partner went up central London, no surprise there, but we went to the Electric Game Box and this was quite good fun actually. So it's literally where you go into this room and it's all touchable walls and you have the image comes up on all of these walls. You have to have this like headset on and everything. Then you got to choose between different games. So you got to choose one game, you got to play it for an hour and see where you came out. So we chose the CIA game, which ended up being the hardest game, which we didn't realise. It was just a lot of fun. Like there was a lot of different puzzles and stuff we had to solve. You had to work together as a team to be able to complete the different rooms, and it was a lot of fun. One thing I would say is it's very child friendly. So even though this was the hardest game, it wasn't that hard. Like, I would say this is definitely something you can do with a group of friends as a laugh, but it's not a hard game. And all the other games are very much family orientated, and so this is a great place to go if you've got kids and just have a nice family day out, because it is hilarious. Either way, we still loved it. My partner is a gamer, so he had so much fun with it, and I very much enjoyed it as well. And it was just something different to do, which was just great. And then we ended up spending the whole weekend together, which is something we haven't actually done unless we're both on holiday. This doesn't happen because it's rare that I will have a Saturday off. Yeah, it just worked out really nicely, so that was great. It meant Sunday we also went back up central London, and we decided just to go around trying different food, and it was just really nice, really enjoyable day. Had a great one. Great weekend, honestly. Across the weekend, I did continue reading Crime and Punishment, and as I mentioned, it's all over the place. Like, I'm pretty sure I mentioned this already. The writing style, what we're trying to follow with our main character, is very chaotic. His mindset is very unstable, and I'm actually at the point where they are questioning whether he is insane or not, because his behaviour is so erratic. And we are getting to that point where all the storylines and that are kind of coming together, because we did have this tangent where our main character had gone to the pub, met this person, told his life story about his daughter and everything, and now we're at the point where that has become relevant and all these characters kind of linking up together. I have also struggled with this book quite a lot because there's been a few scenes in here which honestly I was tempted to put it down and not pick it back up again. One scene in particular where our main character is having a dream, but it's such a vivid dream of this horse being beaten to death, and I was just like, I can't, because it was so graphic and so gut-wrenching, and I was just like, that's where I draw the line. Like, animal cruelty is just something that I cannot read or get back. Like, I'm really good with pretty much everything else, but that is just something where I was like, I just can't. And so as I read it, I was like, I need to put this book down, and I didn't pick it back up for a day because I was like, yeah. No. After that, there's been no more animal cruelty. We have had him kill the two girls, which is not a spoiler because it's on the back of the book. And again, that was very vivid, but like I said, I'm not so bothered about that. I think for me, I am just finding this a very gritty book to read, and I think that's really good if you are interested in Russian lower class society where we're having a lot of poverty, deprivation, the things people are having to do to survive. It is a very, I think gritty is the perfect word for it. It is that. I don't mind it, but that paired with the chaoticness of our main character, I'm just finding it a bit of a struggle to read. So I really have to like convince myself to sit there and read it. I can read about 20 to 30 pages at a time and it doesn't bother me, but then I think I hit my point where I'm like, okay, I need a break, I need to have something else. There has been a couple of times when I've been able to read a bit more than that and been able to sit there and read 50 pages at a time. I can't read anything past that, which normally I'm the sort of person that I can read like 100 pages or so at a time and not be fazed at all, but this I'm actually struggling with. And again, it's not because it's not well done, because I think it does a really good portrayal of poverty. Some of the things that happen in this I'm just finding a bit uncomfortable to read, and again, that chaotic mindset where it's just all over the place, like I really struggle with that. This is a good book, I think it's well written, it's just one I am definitely going to take my time with, and I will finish next week because I am just about halfway through, so I will be finishing it up, but it is something that I'm just going to have to take my time with. So I think, yeah, we'll see. So yeah, that's been the chaotic reading week. I have had a really weird start to the week in terms of reading, and just, yeah, it's definitely been a challenging one with just the books that I've been reading, but you know what? It's interesting, it's pushing me outside of my comfort zone, and that's always a good thing, to try and push yourself and experience different things, because you never know what you are going to like. With all of that being said, I actually do need to get to work, so I'm going to go to work. I will catch up with you in the next video. I hope you all have had a good week so far. Let me know what you have been up to. If you've read any of these books, what did you think of them? If you've managed to get this far, let's leave a plant emoji, any plant that you can think of, because you know, plants are awesome. And yeah, I'm gonna go. So if you have enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it that thumbs up, subscribe, comment to let me know that you're here. Social media links will be linked below, and I will of course catch you in the next one.